Chief Inspiring HR, here today with my friend Mike King, who I always love spending time with. How are you today?
I am doing good.
I'm digging the glasses.
Thank you. You know, I try and be stylish when you come in because you're always on the cutting edge of explaining information. You are in the cutting edge of speaking English to us about HR,
Okay.
human resources. Okay, so last week we touched on chicken or fish.
Yes.
But last week we touched on ageism, and we kind of like, okay, you know, two folks running, or they got some miles on them.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to touch on unemployment. Because everybody, I can't say everybody, but a lot of people have dealt with unemployment, the getting, the not getting. So, ma'am, let's start with the misgivings. I'll start with the misgivings.
Well, tell me where you have. We're always good when you tell me your assumptions and your confusions,
Okay.
and then I'll try and.
That the company that you work for can get mad at you and they can squash you getting unemployment. That's
No.
One. Okay.
No company has total control over that.
But that's not what it seems like in the workforce. Because we've been told that right there. The other one is companies will try and get you to quit first.
Yeah, that also doesn't work.
It doesn't?
No. You quitting isn't automatically mean you don't get unemployment.
Really?
Yeah.
See, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news here. If I quit, I can still get unemployment. Possibly.
Yes. So, all right. So let's first remember what unemployment is designed for. Unemployment is designed to partially replace your lost income for a period of time when you are out of work through
no fault of your own.
No fault of your own.
But I quit. I had enough. I'm not taking it anymore.
Right. So what did you explain to the unemployment office when you filed for unemployment? Did you tell them you tried not to quit, but conditions were so bad they left you no choice? Ooh. If you can prove that, that's considered what's called constructive discharge, which turns your quit really into I had no choice. They made conditions so bad for me, it in essence was an involuntary termination.
How do I prove that? Now we go back to the case of documentation. Mm-hmm. So I've gone into them and said, whatever is going on here, I can't take it. It's not correct. We need to change some things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they don't change the things.
Right.
At what point do I say, I've had enough, I'm quitting, and then I go down to the unemployment office, and you can imagine what they look like when they get the letter that says, hey, you know, Bob quit, and now he wants to file for unemployment.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, let's just hope that form. So usually what happens is when you file for unemployment, your past employer gets a notice to respond to. Bob Smith has filed for unemployment. Please confirm his dates of employment and your recollection of why he's no longer employed. And then the unemployment claim, and I'm just talking generally, it's not like I've ever been in an unemployment claim.
But you understand, you're the expert.
But I've been at appeals and I've heard hearings and I understand how the process works. So the unemployment officer will hear your case. They'll collect information from your past employer. They'll compare notes and they'll make an initial determination on whether or not you're eligible to collect. Now, if they award you benefits, you start to collect, but your past employer would have a chance to appeal or protest your claim.
Okay.
And now the burden of documentation to prove you are not eligible for those unemployment benefits falls back on your former employer. And in general, they all are not good at documentation, and you'll keep the money.
So I get the money.
Mm-hmm.
The employer gets the opportunity to
appeal or protest.
Mm-hmm. And you're thinking that a lot of times they're not good with the documentation.
A lot of times.
Because they didn't see the problem that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
When a person is in the middle of all of that, what type of documentation do they need for this to really have a basis to say, I'm done?
Right. Well, in the case of if you voluntarily quit because conditions were so bad, it would be incumbent on the employer to prove otherwise, to in essence diminish your credibility and prove that they are the more reasonable person or reasonable party in the story that they tell.
What type in your history? What type of things make it so bad that a person wants to leave. Okay, safety is one.
Safety,
Sexual harassment is another
a
one.
really bad one, nothing that goes beyond unemployment.
Any of the isms.
Yeah,
The-
yeah, yeah.
How many isms do we have these days?
Oh,
Okay, come on, that's okay. So we've had the one that's been around for a long time, racism.
mhm.
Is that the granddaddy of them all?
Mm, there's so many now.
See,
There's
ladies and gentlemen, that's what
racism,
you
there's sexism, there's ageism,
that's what we tune in here for. So
whatever the protected categories are that you should not be discriminating against.
that's an ism.
That's an ism. Yeah.
Okay. So now I go to my employer and I tell them that I have a bad back
Mm-hmm.
and I need one of those fancy chairs that costs about $500.
Reasonable accommodation. Yes.
It's kind of like affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
Affordable means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
What is reasonable, ma'am?
Very gray area.
Yes, that's murky. Those
Here-
waters are murky.
So this is what we talk about in terms of complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act in the
Okay.
workplace. Okay, so trained HR people, and we would hope trained leaders that know to ask for HR help. An employee says, "I'm experiencing something that requires me or has brought me to this point where I want to ask for some kind of reasonable accommodation." A good employee handbook and trained people would say this requires an interactive conversation between you, your manager, and whoever else they designate to determine if something's reasonable.
Okay.
You keep documentation of this interactive process to try and arrive at a reasonable accommodation. And if you can't accommodate and you say we can't do that, it poses an undue hardship on the business, and the employee ends up quitting and filing a claim for discrimination because of disability, it is a really, really high bar to prove undue hardship to the business. And a $500 chair would
Is
not
not.
be an undue hardship.
Okay. So that is not an undue hardship to the business. The employee comes in, the employee wins.
That's
Employee
right.
wins that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would hope all parties would be reasonable. Somebody would get you the darn chair, and that's the end of the reasonable accommodation discussion. But some managers choose to make this more difficult.
Mike King here, Mindy Flannigan, talking HR and all the things that, all the isms that would have me end up going to saying that I quit.
Right.
And next thing you know, company gets a letter, they have to respond, I get paid. That's the best of both worlds. With documentation, do they have to, is email the best way, and do they?
No.
Okay, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
checking a box.
Okay, so when I just brought that question up, it landed like this. Yes, okay. Email is not.
It's okay.
Okay, what is the best?
So here's, where email usually is? I brought somebody in, I'm uncomfortable, I gave them a quick verbal warning, and now to check the documentation box, before they get back to their desk, I'm going to email them what we talked about to actually document the verbal warning. Okay, fine. But that's not great documentation. Great
Okay.
documentation is basically something that articulates what we discussed with the manager's signature and the employee's signature, acknowledging that if they don't improve or fix this, their job is in jeopardy.
Okay.
Unless you have articulated that with mutual sign off, it's not great documentation.
All right, ma'am. I am not going to say that I have been on that receiving end of one of those, but they always say that I've heard, you don't have to sign this. Sign this is not an admission of guilt. Signing this just says you were here,
right,
and this thing happened.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's ways to get a signature without people feeling like they're boxed into being forced to sign something.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How can you get a signature?
You just say, if you don't want to sign off on this, I'm going to create a line that says refuse to sign, and sign that. Voila, you got the signature.
No.
Yes, people do it all the time.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. It's an HR trick.
Kind of nerd fall for that one.
Oh, lots of people.
Okay.
Refuse to sign. Yeah, okay, you were here. You signed it.
All right. Okay. On the mic, Mindy is here. Mindy, very quickly, tell people how they can find you, and then let's talk about the idea of unemployment, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
The determination, is it always, how does a person determine how long you get it? You can get. I'll be right back.
All right. So first, how to find me or us. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. I believe I actually took my own company's LinkedIn page as my handle. I'm pretty sure Inspiring HR is somewhere and reaching Mindy Flannigan of Inspiring HR Direct on LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. Send me a connection request, send me a message. We also have an Inspiring HR company page on LinkedIn, which you're welcome to follow. Best place to make sure you schedule some time with myself or a member of our team to learn more about our services is to go to our contact us page on our website, fill out the form, click submit, and I'll get the handy pop-up from the CRM that tells me somebody has reached out and wants more information.
That's the best way to find Mindy Flannigan. Okay, to determine unemployment.
Yes. Now remember, full disclaimer, I am not an unemployment officer or examiner, but I've been around the process.
You've been around the process.
Yes.
Okay, so it is pretty cut and dry.
Well, here's what most people need to know. And we get this a lot from small businesses. I want to terminate this employee and I want to make sure they don't get unemployment.
Oh.
You don't have total control over that. You're only as good as your documentation when you're invited to challenge the claim. Up to and after that point, it's up to the unemployment office to choose who they believe and how they're going to award the benefits.
Okay, ma'am. So in the past, we're going to our legal side. You've been a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. Now you're on the other side as a defense attorney.
Okay.
So you're talking to regular Joe. I'm having a problem at work. Mm-hmm. What is the escalation path to documentation? Like, what do I need to do?
Is regular Joe an employee or a manager?
An employee.
Okay. So
regular Joe... right. And he kind of believes that open door policy. I have an open door policy here.
Yes, I know how you feel about those.
Yes, he's a nerd who believes that. Okay. All right, ma'am. Let's go.
Okay.
What do I need to do?
Joe, an employee, has a problem.
Yes, he has a problem.
Now, Joe, an employee, comes to HR to say he has a problem?
Yes.
A good HR person would not undermine the leader-to-employee relationship.
So they send Joe back.
Ask Joe. Well, we asked Joe, have you talked to your manager about this? He has.
Yes.
Gotten nowhere.
Nowhere.
Okay, now we will hear him out. Your first responsibility is to make sure that you are not upending the leader-to-employee relationship, but you should be a resource if they've already advocated for themselves and haven't gotten anywhere.
So is HR and not HR is not in the chain of command?
Not really.
Not really. It's sort of on its off on its own.
We would tend to roll up to the executive team or the owner, but it's a delicate. We're keeping the culture together and we're making sure we're minimizing risk and staying compliant with labor laws and helping with strategy. But if we think we're just there to serve the employees, we're wrong. And if we think we're just there to serve the managers, we're wrong.
Because you've had that conversation. You as a professional have tough conversations with the owner. Mm-hmm. Certain things. Okay. So Bob goes in, you hear him out. Mm-hmm. Bob knows now, he's talked to his manager before, and this is just Bob is a generically.
Well, we'd have to assess what's the gravity of the problem, because if he's voicing the fact that a law is being broken, HR has to investigate. If he's simply saying that his boss is being mean to him,
my boss is a jerk.
Yeah, it's not illegal to be a jerk. So now we have to offer some suggestions on how to navigate that relationship.
Tiffany Green just walked in. I think we need to have a law that says it ought to be against the law to be a jerk.
Yeah, we don't. Don't you think we have enough laws?
How do you define a jerk? That's
Bring me in. One of Mike is here. All right, we got Brian Kinsey came in. We got Tiffany Green. Alrighty, all right, ma'am. So now I know when I go into the HR office, I went in there. Now I talked to the manager already, and me and the manager didn't get anywhere. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's gonna be some smoke when I leave out of the HR office.
Right.
By the time I get back to my desk, Mike got some explaining. Not Mike. Joe got some explaining to do, because now everybody wants to come and talk to him, and they're not talking nice. They got that stern look in their face.
So in this situation, everybody's mad that Joe went to HR?
Ma'am, everybody's mad when they go to HR.
Well, and that HR person's not very good, because HR people know how to properly articulate support for both employee and manager.
I feel warm and cuddly in here because you got two HR professionals in here who don't do that. But your brother and sister who are out there.
I'm pretty sure Brian would agree. Our profession has a long way to go to add strategic cultural value.
Yes, because we've had that conversation with me and my cultural brother who wanted to hang out, but I wouldn't because he was the HR man.
Well, and I would also tell you there's a lot of HR people that somehow think they're hired to play psychologist at a company, and there's just this open door of complaining all day long and nobody changes anything ever. Again, undermining the leader to employee relationship and not adding any value to the workplace.
Uh, why
So
would
no one should be mad at Joe, right? Joe should have left feeling like he was heard by HR and HR gave him some good suggestions to talk to his manager about. Now, somewhere in here, we're going to have to decide, can all parties be grown up, reasonable people? And if there is no way to get a meeting of the minds of grown up, reasonable people, yes, eventually that employment relationship is going to have to part ways.
Joe might have talked to his wife before he went to HR, and she kind of told Joe,
Is she going to call HR? Too?
"Yeah, my wife is gonna call here.
It happens.
You don't want my wife coming in here."
We have parents calling HR complaining about their kids' performance review.
But we had the conversation last week that we shouldn't just chuck out the young folks.
No,
We can't.
We cannot. But we also should be propping them up and saying, we don't really need your parents calling. How can we help you have a better relationship with your manager so that you can lift up into adulthood?
So, all right, ma'am. There was a young person who was at the TV station that I was at previously. I'm not going to call any names. And she wanted to know how she could get a raise.
Okay.
It's a perfectly good question.
Perfectly good.
Because she had said the people over at the Chinese restaurant was making more than they were. So it's kind of
What's her job?
An editor.
So she's comparing her pay to restaurant workers?
Yes.
Interesting.
And the restaurant worker won.
Well, understand they're not comparing apples to apples.
But no. But we're talking, I'm a professional in a TV station. They are at Panda Express. And they're doing better.
Welcome to capitalism.
Yeah, that is true. So she wants to know how I can. Boy, yeah, there you go. Mindy Flannigan just dropping like it's hot.
I wouldn't spend money at Panda Express. It's not my thing, but I do understand capitalism and supply and demand, and there you go.
Right, but now this person went to college, and they're trying to break into the industry. Mm-hmm. So she goes to
HR and says, "I want to."
No, she didn't go to HR yet. Okay. She went to the director, the news director, and wants to know how I can get over into that world. Whatever the response wasn't satisfying.
Only imagine.
Yes. She did not go to HR. No.
Okay.
She didn't go to the station manager.
Okay.
No. There was corporate executives, the regional vice president came in and they gave the speech.
Okay.
We're here for you. We are a family. All of a sudden you hear Sister Sledge playing. We are family. And he gave out his number.
Okay.
And she called him.
Good for her. I'm sensing this didn't end well.
No, it did not. Being an old man, the first thing I wanted to know was, where'd you get his number from? He gave it out at the meeting. Okay, and he said, call if you have any questions. What did he say when you called her? Like, hey, how are you? I said, how was he? She said, he was perfectly nice. He was the nicest. And then what happened? I hung up. He said, hey, what we're going to do is I'm going to contact the station and we're going to talk about it. And then HR got involved. But HR didn't come with the warm and fuzzy. HR came with the heat.
Which was?
You got a lot of nerve. You went outside of the chain of command. You went outside of here. And you started bringing, outsiders into our family. And the GM was not a very happy person. Mm-hmm. And that was her slow walk to, I'm leaving here.
So she got blackballed.
Yes. Yeah. It's cold on the outside, so when you've had enough.
Now who's to blame here? That's what I want to know. What's the opportunity to improve the next time here?
That's a younger person. When I was a young man, I felt more bulletproof. Like when I was a younger man, now, if I saw daylight at a car, I could run across, Midlothian Turnpike, not even think anything of it.
I wouldn't do that anymore.
You're right. If I can see a car, I'm not taking a chance because I can't beat the car. I know. When there was a time I sort of lived dangerous like she did and called a person up, but you kind of get some miles.
That shouldn't be dangerous. The guy gave out his number and said this is an open door environment. Here's the learn. when the corporate team goes and does their warm fuzzy tour and gives out their number and says, we believe in our culture and we believe in open door, make sure you give the memo to the hierarchy left behind that if employees take advantage of calling me, this is the conduct I expect as a result of that. Sounds to me like there was a complete communication breakdown at that company about what to do when an employee calls a corporate executive.
Yes, there was a complete breakdown.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. I would hope that
I would
happens
thi-
less and less in the workplace, but I'm not so sure.
Exactly. That is more of the norm.
You know, that reminds me of where we are right now in workplaces, and you'll like this. We've gone from, I'm pointing to Tiffany, by the way, if anyone's curious.
It's just like wondering, no, but okay, here we go.
We've gone from let's tell the whole world how great we are on our website and they'll believe us, but our culture is completely contrary to that. Now we're seeing an evolution where the modern day workplace says these values and this culture applies to our customers as much as it applies to our internal operations. We are going to be an authentic organization that when we tell customers we care about these 5 values, we also live these 5 values day to day behind the scenes.
All righty. Mindy Flannigan here talking. All right, so next week I got a bone to pick.
Oh, are you
Yeah.
going to let me know or are you just going to surprise me?
No, there's 2 things. There's one that the city of Richmond, I went out and I went to park. I don't know if I told you this.
No.
I went to park. The parking meter thing had to be 6 feet tall. To even look at the little, the display thing.
Where were you?
Down by the Capitol. Now that maybe they don't want people to be down at the Capitol, but it didn't look like
Possible.
all of them were that height. But I didn't want to ask people who were walking by who were taller than me.
Oh, you mean like me at Target when I look for the next?
Exactly.
Can you get that roll of
Could
paper
you get
towels
that
up
one?
there?
Yes. I
can't
did not
reach
want to
there.
be that person,
Yeah.
but I needed. So I tempted fate. I put my card in there that I couldn't see, and I came back with a ticket. Now I'm contemplating going down there and asking them, okay, who are you hiring that that you're making these things? There has to be some kind of ism. I'm gonna find that thing out. Okay, so that's one.
Okay.
And now yes, I got to talk to somebody.
I just at the heart of it would want to know why anyone thought it would be a good idea to make that unreachable to the general public.
Maybe that person was disgruntled.
Maybe.
Yes, as my dad would always say, you can't fix stupid. The other one
Let's
is
hope it wasn't maliciously done.
why they saw me coming.
No, they
Oh.
just thought.
It's like,
maybe-
okay, here we go. Mike King's coming. Let me just okay.
You
So
know that
man,
assumption that short people are a pain, so we're gonna just make sure only tall people can park here or something. I don't
what they got? Randy Newman singing.
know.
That,
All right, what's the other bone to pick?
oh, Walmart.
Oh,
I was getting ready to ask Tiffany about a Randy Newman with Short People, the song.
oh okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
You're gonna dance to that too?
No,
Yeah.
we've had a conversation about me and dancing.
Okay.
I'm breaking up the Carlton.
What about Walmart?
Walmart.
I'm familiar with them.
Yes. Years ago, not just Walmart, but yes, you're familiar with them. Years ago, my cousin, and because I come from Philly and Pennsylvania is a big union town, we've had the conversation.
Mhm.
My cousin said that they're, having do your use scan and you do all the work was not good for people.
You're talking about self checkout?
So check.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I refuse to do it.
Same.
Because hey, you're not even saying I'm gonna give you a 1% discount or something because it never works. That's why I'm a big fan of Aldi's. It's like boop, boop, Aldi's. It works. The system works. I like systems, even though it may not seem like it to a lot of people. Okay, but Walmart now, the one in Short Pump, now they've gone to. They said they don't have enough workers, so they want people to stop stealing. Okay, I get that. So now
We
they
didn't anticipate stealing with self checkout. I mean, I can't just blame Walmart on this. It's happening all over the place.
true. So now a person says, now they put you in a cattle chute and there are barely any people checking you out. But there's always a person at the front saying, hey, can I see your receipt? You got the one
You're the
person.
second person to mention this to me in less than 24 hours. That I've bothered to do all of this, and then you're still gonna.
You're going to check. You're putting
This
the
is what I
work
heard.
on
You're
me
still gonna pat me down before I leave
Yes.
the store.
after
Yeah.
you force me to
Right.
do the work.
Right.
So next week, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get on that soapbox about
What do you want to ask me? Why Walmart can't hire employees, or
I know the thing that says when you go to Walmart bathroom that says you shouldn't steal because Like, don't even think about it because we're gonna catch you, and it's gonna ruin your life.
Those signs are up in the Walmart bathroom.
You don't go to the bathroom at
I
Walmart.
don't go to Walmart. Got a hard time supporting Walmart.
What are you, a Target person? You look like one.
I didn't like the last date. I read.
What?
Well, I didn't.
What was
It's
Target
fine, I
people,
don't
they,
care.
you know what?
No,
Target. My son's a Target person.
Oh.
They do have better shopping carts at Target.
I can find things a lot faster. My problem with Walmart in the HR space is still to this day the amount of people that work full time there and still need public assistance really bothers me.
That is
That's it.
something. And the sad part about it is that a direct correlation between how much money they make and they're fleecing the system, putting it to the worker, and then they're making a ton of money.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Mike King, Mindy is going to be here next week. She's going to talk bad about Walmart. You know what?
I'm not going to talk bad about Walmart. I'm just going to say why I don't shop there.
I got grandkids. I can't, and I don't have any money. But that's why I belong to Empower People because I can talk to John Rabel if something goes sideways. So I won't be talking
He's a
bad.
very good attorney.
Yes, very good. So if we're going to talk about that on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to him on Monday,
Okay.
making sure he might be sitting next to me.
Okay.
There you go, because I don't
He's
want to get
good.
in any trouble. All right, Mindy, tell people how they can find you.
InspiringHR.com. Fill out our contact us form so you land in our CRM, and I'll call you back quickly. Call me direct, 804-715-1920, and I am very active on LinkedIn.
Yes, you are very. And one last thing, chicken or fish? We
I'm
stayed.
not answering.
We stayed away from that this time. One of Mike and Mike.
Just telling you what's on the menu: chicken or fish.
Right,
Choose.
we're not telling you which one to get.
No, just make sure you make a choice. That's all I ask.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
One of Mike, we got to go. Bye.